Hello walkers, and welcome back to Livingston, Montana. It's about 4 days after, it's a Wednesday, 23rd of February. The story of the day, however, is that while it was, fairly cold the other day, it is now currently 13 below zero Fahrenheit, negative 25 degrees Celsius. When I woke up this morning, it was 23 below zero Fahrenheit, so cold that our furnace is having a hard time keeping up. My name is Henry. I will be your proxy walker today, for a little while anyway, your virtual travel guide as we explore the Myers River View Trail. I'm having some gear situation there. Sorry about that. I'm messing with the microphone. We're going to go down here and see the river, which is actually steaming. It's filled with slush and ice and trying to freeze, but the current won't let it. And so it's actually steaming, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. It is ferociously cold. So I don't know how long I'm going to last out here. It is chilly. But that's fairly normal. It's a little late in the year to get a cold snap like this. We normally, it's usually earlier in the year. We got a train sort of hanging out here, ready to go into the rail yard. Probably get some engines put on it at Montana Rail Link. We have walked here before I'm having some weird power issues. But in better weather, or warmer weather, I should say. So this will be a little bit different. This is the normal path. There's some artwork that is positioned throughout the trail. You can kind of see the flecks of ice in the air, just little crystals hitting with the sun hitting them. I hope you can see that. And it's not really snowing, but it's so cold that moisture has a hard time staying in the air. It just freezes and falls. We'll see over by the river here, it'll be steaming, whereas it's that much warmer than the air. You can see in here some bushes, and I've seen a little bit of red berries in there. We'll go over here and take a look real quick. That is life to birds and other little critters. These are, I think, look like rose hips, but these are pretty big bushes. Animals have a hard time here in this weather, as you might expect, but they're also adapted to it. I think birds will find little microclimates. They'll get down into these bushes and they'll puff their feathers out to create a layer of air to help them insulate. Speaking of insulate, I'm going to zip up my jacket here a little bit better. Sorry about that. Deer have winter coats, elk have winter coats, bears are probably nestled in their dens. And then mountain lions have dens, but they don't hibernate. They hunt in the winter. And we've got cows that we'll see up here. A very pastoral looking scene we'll see here in a minute. And these cows, they eat, they digest, they group together, they get out of the wind, if there is any. And they stay warm that way. I think as long as they can move around, the snow doesn't get too deep, and they can have something to eat, then the cows don't do too badly. You can see a red barn, the mountains over there, below the bench. A bench of geologic bench, sorry. Luckily, when it gets this cold, there's usually not too much wind. You can hear the squeaking of the snow as I walk. It's so cold, those ice crystals, they don't want to bind together. It's like walking on really fine sand. I forgot to do my housekeeping here. I love getting your comments, so please comment. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. That's very helpful to me. And share with your friends. I love hearing your stories in the comments, and I read them all the ones that come through the YouTube filters. I think sometimes if YouTube thinks you're saying something mean, they'll filter it out, or a lot of times if you include links, they won't let it through. And then sometimes I don't know why they filter it out. It's a challenge sometimes, but the ones that come through, I will reply to. And I love reading them, love hearing your stories, hearing your own memories. We've got a little sparrow over here. Looks like a couple of them. We had a common redpoll in my backyard the other day, and it looks a lot like a sparrow, but instead of having a brown cap on the top of his head, it was a brilliant red, scarlet red, and then a white and red breast. Love seeing these sparkling crystals in the air. I hope the camera's picking that up. It is magical. We have some friends from Tennessee in town visiting this week, and they are finding this a bit challenging, because it is challenging. Just staying warm. I get a lot of questions too about what do you do when it's 20 below, or because it was 23 below this morning. And the answer is, one, if you go outside, you cover everything you can cover. You wear a lot of layers. I'm wearing long johns and lined pants, and then long underwear on top with another couple layers and a very thick down jacket. And if you don't have to go outside, you typically don't. It's exposed skin is a challenge, and it's painful. Even I'm wearing some fleece-lined leather gloves right now. Here, I can see them right here, and my fingers are quite cold. Yet and still. So hopefully that answers your question. The coldest I've ever been out is probably 30 below. Pretty close to it. And I wasn't out for long. That was a long time ago. You can see the cows. They're getting plenty of hay to munch on, keep their metabolism going. Those are Black Angus cows. You can see some of them I don't know if you can see because it's so wide, but their breath is steaming like ours would. And that steam gets on their fur and freezes on the outside, which is an indication of not just how cold it is, but how insulated they are. My wife, we had a Malamute for a long time, and he'd go out and just lie down in the snow. And other northern breeds are kind of like this, and they'll just lie out in the snow and they're perfectly fine. The snow will build up on them and it won't even melt because they're so well insulated. The body heat just gets retained so efficiently. I'm unable to monitor the audio today for some reason. Look how you can see the kind of light on the snow and the shadows and the sparkles. It's really pretty. You can see it drifts like sand. The cold also affects the batteries on this. We started out at 100% when we started walking, and it's already at 85%. And I have it plugged into a supplemental power, but it's not flowing for some reason. Off to the right here is a dry channel. I've mentioned that before. Oh, look here. We've got some tracks. You see down here? This is where it looks like deer have come, jumped over the fence, probably gone and helped themselves to some of that hay. And I'm noticing now, I didn't even think about this, but February in Montana is a month when a lot of ranchers calve, and there are several calves out here. Now calves, you might think, again, are going to be in trouble, but from what I have been told, as long as their mom can lick them dry and clean, they'll be okay. If they can't get dry, that's a problem. So, and of course their moms are giving them that high fat milk to metabolize. Okay, I'm going to point something else out here. Kind of just above that ridge, there's a tree with a big black splotch on it. I believe that big clump there, it's kind of over in here somewhere. I think that's an eagle nest. Can't quite tell because it's a ways away. You can see some calves out there. Their steamy breath. Up here you can look across. You can see the river. We'll get a closer look here in a little bit. But the steam coming off of there. And I'll show you the ice that's flowing down as well. Oh, it is cold. Even with my long johns and lined pants, my legs are getting cold. My hands, my fingers are hurting because they're so cold. My feet are all right. There's a place where my glove meets my jacket where the air is getting in. I had to switch hands because it was getting so cold there. The air just touching that skin. It's painful. It is pretty though. Oh, and we'll go down here and hopefully we'll get a nice view where the steam comes up off the river and collects on the branches and trees of the cottonwoods, and obviously collects and freezes and turns really pretty white, like the flocking people decorate with in Christmas sometimes. In the past, I've walked down there. I don't really want to go slipping and sliding around over there. And I don't know how much more battery I have. So we're just going to keep on going here. the last video and this video, I've gone back to filming at 60 frames a second in 4K. Let me know if you have a preference. Seems to be a little more popular, at least among the people who are filming walks. It is a little bit bigger. It's a bigger file. But that's not that big a deal. I did have a situation the other day where it cut out on me. I think the buffer, the write speeds weren't able to keep up for some reason. All in the day's work for a YouTube walker. I got a question for you guys. I know a lot of you walk on treadmills while you watch these, or watch these while you walk on treadmills or your exercise machines. Do any of you watch them when you're at a gym? Do you go to the gym to watch, to exercise, or do you have home exercise equipment? I've been really curious about that, and there's no way to find that out without just asking you. So if you could respond to that, I'd appreciate it. Oh, here's some birds staying warm. They really mowed through our feeder yesterday. We had to refill it after a single day. Of course, they need that food to stay warm. Here we're coming up on the river, and it looks like they're either getting gravel up here on the end of this turn. Maybe there's some seeds in there. Little sparrows, looks like. Oh, that might be a redpoll. Really bright head. Not this one. Maybe. But you can see here the river, how it's filled with slush. And I'm actually going to go see if I can get down there without falling. Oops, getting deep. That makes it a little easier to walk. Whoops. Alrighty. Here goes a golden-eyed duck. Brutally cold, but look how colorful these rocks are, and the light just kind of sets everything off. And I'll stop talking here in a second so you can listen. Now you can see where the water is slowed, it freezes over, but where it's moving, it stays open. Further upstream, at Mallard's Rest, I assume it's frozen all the way over. It slows up enough, gets deep enough, that that's what it does. And look at this texture of this snow. I'll get down here. See kind of the crystals standing up. I don't know what causes that, the difference, but it's kind of interesting. Then you can see the white, how white these branches are. If you look over here in these little willows, that steam comes over here, gets cold enough to freeze, and accretes on these things. Here, I'll get a better look for you. It's really pretty. I don't think it'll focus, but let's see if we can get back up here without falling. Okay. Oops. little slippery, but we made it. It can be really dangerous, this kind of temperatures, obviously. So one of the things that people do out here in Montana and other northern states is in winter you have blankets and other supplies in the vehicle. If you go off the road, get stuck, and it's 20 below, you want to be able to keep warm. And normally you're normally within cell range of most things, but there are times when you're not, and you just want to be prepared. I remember when my kids were little, we had a car that conked out up on the pass, and my wife was stuck up there with like a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old at 25 below. Luckily she had cell service and could call me to come get them. It's supposed to warm up tomorrow. In fact, it's supposed to be in the high 40s by the end of the week. Pretty this is. Looks like somebody might be going down to fish, or maybe just take pictures. I don't know. There's a fence down here, and that's to keep cattle in when because they'll graze cattle off to the left. It's private land. But because of Montana's stream access laws, which is actually in the Constitution, the public has a right to recreate below the mean high water or traditional high water mark. So he's well within his rights. Montana. All right. Wow. Ooh, it's cold. I took my hand out of my glove so I could take some photos with my camera here. And it is quite painful. That across the way is the Mayor's Landing access and dog park. All right, guys, made it 23 minutes. That's pretty good. But we are I'm going to call it so I can go back to the car and get warm, take a couple pictures. And but I will probably maybe do another walk this afternoon. I'm supposed to get up to about 0, and we're gonna go down to Sage Lodge, meet up with some friends, and they have some nice walking down there. So stay tuned with that. Otherwise, I will see you from somewhere else. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for commenting and subscribing and all that fun stuff. Sharing with your friends. Until next time, stay warm, guys, and keep on stepping.